I don't produce videos as often as I used to 3.5, 4 years ago. Maybe once a month, if lucky, twice. If I'm on a roll, 3 times a month, huh? Go figure. Some of the reasons being is due to time constraints, as I've stated over the years, as of why I don't produce videos as often as I once did. Now, it would be nice to jump back into the scenes the way I was back in 2013, 2014, 2015. But as I think about it, everybody has their prime when they're just on a roll. And then there's times when it dies down. It's time to move on to other things. But now when I think about it, if I decided to never produce a video on this channel again, honestly, I can stop making videos tomorrow if I wanted to. Why? Because what I have tried to warn many brothers about here online for years now has come to pass. You have many brothers who have made videos in defense of black women as a collective, seemingly under unconditional circumstances. Now, I don't have a problem with black men defending black women. However, there are certain things that I say needs to be met if this is what's going to be done. Now, I'm not one of these brothers who are going to sit up here and say, well, you need to be giving it up to me and sleeping with me before black men defend black women. No, I'm not. That's not what I'm on. However, I do require that there is a level of respect and recognition that is acknowledged from black women to the black men who actually do this. That I think is fair. But a lot of you brothers, and the reason why I can say I can stop making videos tomorrow if I wanted to, is because a lot of you brothers who have found yourselves defending a certain group of black women here online have now found yourselves at odds with some of these very same women. Now, I've made video series telling black men, if you build it, women will follow. I've also made video series telling black men, stop arguing with women. And many of you brothers still find yourselves in these panels arguing with these women. And I keep on trying to tell you brothers, they're not going to respect you behind doing this. As a matter of fact, they're only going to turn around and use your dysfunction against you, even though she is every bit as dysfunctional as you are. Why? Because if you listen to their talking points, she's going to say, why are you sitting up here arguing with women as a man? Well, that's equivalent to the pot calling the kettle black, because the same can be said, why are you on somebody else's panel arguing with a man that you don't know? But of course, since women get passes for doing the dysfunctional shit they do, and men get ridiculed for everything, they are once again going to turn around and use this against you. I've warned you brothers about this. Which is another reason which ties back in, because some of y'all, many of y'all have found yourselves having the arguments with these women over the educated lame versus Pookie and Ray Ray. Many of y'all have found yourselves in these situations. And you'll find yourselves arguing with these women. And the reason why I've made video titles in the past called, if you build it, women will follow. It's a simple concept when it comes down to women. Right now, you got black men on YouTube teaching other men how to bag women, how to game women, how to beat them at their own game. And I say, stop that. Stop that. At the end of the day, what women respect is power. If you establish it, this is what she's going to respect. You're not going to need a whole bunch of game in order to get her. You're not going to need a whole bunch of fancy lines and smooth jargon and shucking and jiving just to get with her. You're not going to need that. You establish power, women will respect it. This is another reason why a lot of y'all, I'll say this much. You take a drug lord, for instance. Now, I'm not putting these people on a pedestal. And at the same time, I'm also not putting them in the same category as a Pookie and Ray Ray. But I'm going to use an example here for a second. Those of y'all might have seen this movie back in the day, New Jack City, where Wesley Snipes played the character of Nino Brown. And who did he end up getting with? The nerdy chick, the educated woman. It's funny because the very same women here online on YouTube who are classifying black men with education as lames are the very same ones who have college degrees, who would even classify themselves as an educated lame, but yet wants nothing to do with the educated lame. And now when you think about what took place in that movie, here you had an educated woman who furthermore shown a drug lord how to perfect his, I don't want to say craft because I don't want to affiliate that shit to a professional career, to a person who actually goes out here and contributes to society. But furthermore, teaching him how, let me use this terminology instead. Teaching him how to perfect his degenerate behavior. That's what I'm going to use. Here you had an educated woman who showed him, and this is what he said. He said that, yeah, you might have showed me how to do this and get me a couple of books. Who was that? That was her doing this. And he said this to her when this happened. When he decided to drop her like a bad habit. Now, those of y'all seen the movie, if you know what I'm talking about, you know that at some point in time in that movie, she wanted to testify against him. Okay? But we're going to get to that in a second. But despite the fact of what he was doing in that movie, despite the fact that he was ending lives, despite the fact that he was taking over city apartment building complexes, selling poison to his own people, and if he wasn't ending lives by the receiving end of a gun, we most certainly know the lives that he destroyed by all the drugs he was pumping into his own community. We know this. And despite the fact that this educated woman, college degree, well-dressed, well-mannered, suited and booted, well, I'm not going to say suited and booted, but blouse and dress and heels, skirts, still found herself dealing with this type of man, dealing with somebody who was a degenerate. Why was this? Because at the end of the damn day, despite the fact in what he was doing, and most likely she probably didn't approve of him killing people, but it did not matter. Because as long as you got power, fuck it. It didn't matter what he was doing. She still would have no problem getting on her back, spreading her legs, or getting on her knees and cracking her butt cheeks open and letting this man run up inside of her. Why? Why was this not a problem? Why? And here's the problem with a lot of men who are naive to this. Will sit back and ask, well, why would you find yourself dealing with a guy like that? Where's your morals? Here he is selling poison to his own community. I mean, you can do better than this. And everything that you might say might resonate in her brain. But at the end of the day, she's not going to do it. Well, at least not based off of those reasons. Why? Because at the end of the day, despite the fact that you're dealing with a monster, this man has power. He's exhibited and exuded dominance. This is what it is. And this is why, despite the fact that he's doing what he's doing, she still will have no problem giving him sex at the end of the night, giving him her body, providing him with comfort, because this is what women understand and respect is power. A lot of these sick individuals, these monsters, and all these horror stories you read about sick kings and drug lords, guess what? They got a woman by their side that knows about all the fucked up shit he's doing, but yet is still willing to support him. This is how they work. Because at the end of the day, these people exude power. This is another reason why I've told you black men in the past, listen, if you build it, women will follow. So my advice when it comes down to educated lames, and let me just say this much, because I got a problem with that terminology in itself. The same way I got a problem with this whole toxic masculinity. I got a problem when education is being associated with being a lame. That's ridiculous. I got a problem when being a masculine man is associated with being toxic. This is some of the most absurd shit I've ever heard in my life. But we're not going to go into that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a long, drawn-out analogy. And you're going to have to bear with me. Y'all might ask, man, why the hell are you taking us down this fucking tunnel? And I say, stick with me. Because eventually it's going to all make sense and I'm going to tie it in together. When a lot of you brothers find yourselves arguing with these women, you have to understand that you are dealing with people who, there are certain things that they don't grasp. It is equivalent to talking to a brick wall. As a matter of fact, you would have more luck talking to a brick wall. I mean, I got a woman right now that has been leaving comments on my videos. And she comes on there and she states, oh, why are you so angry? Now, this is a woman who claims she's a swirler, claims that she's married to a wonderful white man, whatever the case may be. Now, y'all know my stance when it comes down to swirling. Now, I could sit there and go back and forth with her and tell her, I'm not angry. There's no reason for you to say that I'm angry. But I don't even waste my time responding. Why? Because I get certain things. I understand when I take certain positions here online, I understand it's going to offend certain people. So listen, with that being said, I know I'm not wasting my time arguing with people, especially when they're completely misconstruing my position and trying to affiliate it with being angry. Now, the only video I came out and I said, yeah, I'm pissed off was when Kanye West went into the White House and made a fucking idiot out of himself back in 2018. Oh, yeah, I was pissed off about that. Yes, and I came out and I said it. But for anybody who's going to come to me and say, oh, well, why are you so pissed off in these videos? Why are you so angry? Just calm down. No, you're completely misconstruing my point. So when I see these comments on my videos, I don't even waste my time responding to them. I don't have nothing to prove to you. And this is why I don't waste my time doing it. And this is an approach that many of you brothers should practice yourselves. Now, I will say this much. And there's a reason why I say this, because I understand there are certain regulations with everything that you deal with. Okay? And here's the analogy I'm going to run down. And the regulations on what I'm talking about here, on what many of you brothers find yourselves engaging in, arguing with, you would figure, okay, it shouldn't be difficult to say, hey, man, listen, how come you don't have a regulator on that? How come you don't have a governor? How come you don't have something that controls this, that will stop this? Okay? Let's take an engine, for instance. All right? I used to be a diesel mechanic for a railroad. Worked on big diesel engines that powered locomotives. Big, massive engines. EMD engines, and in certain cases, hybrid Caterpillar engines. All right? Now, these are big engines. Engines that are bigger than your damn car. A power assembly alone in one of these big EMDs weighs about 300 damn pounds. Now, I got experience in tuning those up, timing them, and even swapping out power assemblies. And it's not easy. But when you run this thing, when you look at the engine itself, what you're going to find is there's a whole bunch of compartments to it. Directly in the front of the engine, if I'm saying it right, you have what's called a governor. Now, when this engine is in full RPMs, just like when I use the throttle example, the notch 8, that engine is turning at 900 RPMs, 900 rotations per minute. This is a 2-cycle engine. Now, if you talk about the hybrid Caterpillar engines, those spin at a maximum of 1800 RPMs per minute. That's a lot of rotations per minute. That's pretty goddamn fast. That's some serious shit. If something goes wrong, something breaks, something explodes, guess what? You're talking about somebody's going to be decapitated if something goes wrong with this. So there has to be specific regulations on these things to keep them from overspeeding. So what you have on this thing is a governor. And this governor, what it does is it regulates the speed of the RPM, or it makes sure it does not overspeed. So yeah, you can go into 900 RPMs on the EMDs on a 2-cycle engine. But guess what? If you go over that, we're going to trip out. That's how that works. Anybody who has experience in that field in particular, working on EMD engines, knows that there's a series of tests that have to be performed on these engines once a month. Or not once a month, I would say once every 3 months, or once every 6 months. One of the tests is called the overspeed test. If you looked at one of these engines, you know there's a lay shaft in there. When you crank the engine and start it, you got to push on the lay shaft just to get it going. Or in certain cases, turn on that starter just to bar that engine and get it going. Now, if you want to test the overspeed, what do you got to do? You got to push the lay shaft in all the way. You push it in all the way, what happens? It goes into overdrive. When it goes into overdrive, what happens? The governor button comes out, it trips the engine, it shuts it down. The only way you're going to get that engine back on is there's a reset lever, and you have to pull on that reset lever and push that governor button back in, and then you can start that engine back up. But why is that there? Why is the governor there? What does it do? Its main purpose is to regulate. Well, not regulate, but to make sure it doesn't exceed. These are the boundaries that you can work within. If you go beyond this point of range, we are going to shut you down, and that's how that's going to work. Likewise, since we're talking about a railroad, anybody who knows anything about a railroad knows that recently, I think this is nationwide, the entire country has to do this, which is implement what? PTC. What is PTC? Glad you asked that question. I mean, we know there's been a series of train derailments, engineers speeding on the railroad, running trains over curves. So what did the railroad decide to do? You know what? We need to implement a system that is going to stop that train if that engineer fails to remain in compliance with the speed restrictions at hand. That's what that is. A regulator, a governor, something that is an overseer. We need to make sure you do not exceed the speed. Okay? Meaning this, okay, you're flying down the track doing 80 miles an hour. You got a curve coming up in about 1.5 miles that tells you need to be down at 30. Now, the way the PTC works is it knows how long that it's going to take to stop that train or to bring it down to that speed. It knows when you need to have dropped that throttle down, and it knows when you need to have started applying those damn brakes and how much braking you need to actually apply in order to bring that train to a safe slowdown to be in compliance with the speed restriction. Now, guess what? If you exceed that distance way before you even get to the curve, guess what? The PTC dumps your train. What is dumping of a train? We're putting your train into emergency. You need to be down at 30. You got 1.5 miles coming up. Okay, now you're down to 0.5 mile and you're still doing 75 miles an hour. No, you need to have been down to 45. You need to have been down to 40, 35 at this point in time. And since you're not, we are dumping your train. You're going in the hole. The only way you are now going to get that train to go again, you have to let it come to a complete stop. You have to reset the brakes. Depending on what train you're running, charge the brakes and then start your route all over again, and do not exceed the speed limit. Now, if you go over that speed limit, guess what? We dump your train all over again. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to warn you. Beep, 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 beep. What is that? The alerter. You need to acknowledge that. And if it happens again and you are still exceeding the speed limit, guess what? We put you into a penalty. This is how that works. Why? Because we have to have certain regulations in order to ensure the safety of not only equipment, but the safety of people. All right? So we're talking about massive pieces of machinery that have regulations on them. Likewise, those of y'all who've watched my channel knows that I used to be a superintendent for over 10 years. And I did videos on a massive boiler. And you look at that big piece of monstrosity machinery, you know that's a powerful piece of machinery. But even as big and as powerful as that machine is, I've never walked in that room and felt endangered. Never. Why? Because I know there were certain regulations on there. I knew if it be exceeding the regulations that there are backup systems that are going to trip that boiler out. So if you look at the boiler, and I broke it down with the pressure troll, you had 3 or 4 pressure trolls on there? Each one that performed a different purpose. One is for the cut in and cut out. Other one's for modulation for the burner. The other one is the manual cutout. So if you exceed, and I'll break down that analogy. You have a cut in or cut out for 5 psi. Your cut in is at 3.5, 4 psi. So meaning on normal operation, if you have to run heavy, you can run this boiler up to 5 pounds of steam pressure. Now, you have the choice to increase it or decrease it, depending on what you want to do. But the maximum you can exceed, or the maximum you can run up to, is about 10 to 15 psi. After that, it's done. You can't go beyond that point. And you really ain't even supposed to be that high in the first place. So 5 pounds is where we're going to keep it. So you don't even have to be in there for this thing to regulate itself. So when it gets to 5 pounds, guess what? We shut down. When it drops to 3.5, 4 pounds, we cut back in. And the burner will continue doing that as long as it's a call for heat in for that building. Now, if you want to run on automatic, run on your modulation. You put your modulation on. Throw it on automatic. What does that do? Pretty much when you go up to 3 pounds of steam pressure, instead of it shutting the boiler down and letting it run up to 5, what it does is it reduces that flame and holds it at 3 pounds of steam. So now you could keep the boiler on throughout the entire heat cycle. But the flame is small enough to the point where it's going to only maintain 3 pounds of steam pressure. Now, if all else fails, if both of these two features fail, and for whatever reason it exceeds those limits, guess what? You have your manual pressure reset. And that's usually set for about 10 to 12, 15 psi. So if you get to that point and it bypasses both of the two previous pressure controls, guess what? That now is going to completely shut down your operation. The only way you're going to get that boiler back on is when you climb up there and reset the damn thing. That's what happens. And for whatever reason, if all three of those get exceeded, you have safety relief valves that are set to about 12 to 15 pounds of steam pressure. So when it gets to that level, okay, boom, it opens right up, dumping out the excess steam. Why do we do this? Because even with large machinery, even when you're dealing with monstrosity, there has to be some sort of regulation on this machine. There has to be something that is going to regulate. We cannot have this thing running at full capacity nonstop. Why? Because somebody is bound to get hurt or killed, and the cost of property damage and equipment loss will be astronomical. So now you ask the question, yo, why the hell did you bring me down this long, drawn-out tunnel, man? This is a long fucking tunnel you took me down. Why don't you just get to the point, man? Come on, man. You can shorten this shit up. All right, I'm glad you asked that question. Glad you did. I say all that to say this. Just like I described how you have regulations on massive pieces of equipment, machinery, massive engines, massive boilers. You have regulations and features that control these things. When a lot of you brothers sit up here and y'all find yourselves arguing with the likes of certain women here on YouTube, Cynthia G, you have to understand that you're not dealing with somebody who actually has a regulator on them. This is a woman who has no regulation. This is a woman that, despite the fact she can completely contradict every last one of her talking points, and still won't back down. These are reasons why I have made videos telling you brothers, stop arguing with these damn women. Stop making, listen. I'll go ahead and I'll say this. We've heard Cynthia G's talking points. We know she talks about the dusty beta male coons. We know that she talks about black men being subjugated and conquered and dominated and all this other bullshit she loves to talk. We've heard it. When you listen to these talking points and understand where she's coming from, it's not to say that she's wrong on everything that she says. But with that being said, how do you now sit up here and defend Pookie and Ray Ray? How do you do this? How do you defend the Pookie and Ray Rays over the educated lames? Now, the Pookie and Ray Rays, when you talk about a Pookie and Ray Ray, as far as I'm concerned, you're talking about the bottom feeders. You're talking about black men who are shiftless, black men who have nothing, black men who have accomplished nothing, don't care to accomplish nothing, haven't built any goddamn thing. The Negroes who sit around living off of women. This is what we're talking about. And she has literally said in videos that these men are viewed as more masculine than the educated lane. I mean, this is what she's saying. Now, I don't understand. I mean, how does a man who walks around with his pants hanging off of his ass, how is that exuding masculinity? What is he building? I mean, and I'm sorry. Now, if you listen to Cynthia G, or if you were to present this argument to her, she's going to probably try to switch it up. Well, I'm not talking about those Pookie and Ray. No. We don't get to categorize here because you haven't done it no other time before. So when you're talking about Pookie and Ray, and I'm not talking about people who went down a bad path in their life at one point in time and now decided to turn their lives around and do better. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the shiftless Negroes who have no drive, who have no ambition, who don't care to establish anything in life. The ones who are living off of women. The ones who, where your woman gets up and goes to work, he's staying in the house playing Xbox all day, or PS3 or PS4, whatever the hell he's doing. Those are the guys that I'm talking about. So when we look at these Negroes who walk around with their boxer briefs showing, when we look at these Negroes who are standing out on street corners, catcalling to every female that they see, how do you now classify them as more masculine than the educated lames? These are just some of her talking points. Now we also know what is taking place with Cynthia G. Sometime last year. She is impregnated, possibly still is pregnant. And I'm going to conclude that she is. Why? Because she hasn't shown her face in over 6 months now? Before she ended up not being knocked up, guess what? She had no problem showing her face on video. Now don't get it twisted. This is the same woman where every chance she gets to show her face has no problem doing it. So, and once you understand the nature of women, you understand that there's a reason why you're not doing it now. Because that's the first thing you want to do is show off how you look. This is how women are. This is how many of them function. Now we've seen we've seen a set of events that have taken place here on YouTube. Now somebody came to my comment thread a couple of weeks ago and stated that Taz and Nyla Says are in a relationship. Now that's just what was been stated at that time. Now, after sitting back listening to a few of their live streams, they're not in a relationship, they're married. I mean, this actually becomes blatantly obvious or very transparent when you click onto a Nyla Says live stream. You can see her avatar in the screen, but yet you hear Taz's voice talking in the background, or he's just the one talking, period. How the hell could that happen? Pretty simple. Unless they were living together. So now all of this stuff has been exposed. Now, I really don't care who women choose to sleep with. I don't care. But there's a comparison that I want to make here. All right? And key word, you can actually listen to a live stream and hear the two of them in the same location. And I'm talking about Taz and Nyla Says. Now, they have gotten caught up in a whole bunch of fuckery over the past, I guess, 3 weeks. I guess from the time this whole educated lame argument started, this whole thing has been going down. And the one thing I will say, and this is the reason why I'm using this as a reference point or a frame of reference, because a lot of you black men were happy back in 2016 when the Veganata went into it with Crystal and Karazin, and Cynthia G jumped on the scenes and got at it with Crystal and Karazin. A lot of y'all were backing her up. A lot of y'all were in support of her. Y'all thought she was a real black woman. Y'all thought she was a pro-black. And I came back and told you no. I came back and I told you, listen, don't get this shit twisted. And I actually told y'all about women like this well before that even happened, years before that even happened. I told y'all to be very careful on some of these pro-black women or those that you deem to be a pro-black now, because many of them cannot be trusted. Many of them have dated interracially. I warned y'all about this. Likewise, when I warned y'all back in 2016 when y'all were applauding Cynthia G. And I told y'all, man, listen, her and Crystal and Karazin are two sides of the same coin. I told y'all about this. And if nothing else, I mean, boy. Let's just do a little comparison between these two. All right. Crystal and Karazin has been on YouTube probably over 10 years now. She's been here for quite some time. The common denominator with Crystalline Carrison, as much as she sits here and advocates for white men, she has not produced her husband in a single video to sit down and show some type of, not even remote support of his wife. He will not get on camera with her. The time that she shows him on camera, she won't even go past his chin, which is actually an insult for those of y'all who follow her. The few other times before that, she shows a pair of feet, which for all we know could be the feet of somebody else's, if you're dumb enough to believe that was actually him. Or showing the back of his head, walking into a movie theater, not even acknowledging the damn camera. I mean, what does it tell you? What does it tell you? That she could not produce this man in a video with her, even if her life depended on it. But yet at the same time, will go to bat to defend this man every chance she gets. I want y'all to think about that for a second. Likewise with Cynthia G. I mean, first of all, what I'm trying to figure out with Cynthia G is why are you so fixated on the educated lames? Why do you even care? Because the same way how I say, listen, I don't give a damn who you let run up inside you. I don't care. Why is it that a group of men that you don't even deal with, that you don't view as masculine, that you view as subjugated, dominated, and conquered, as if Pookie and Ray Ray are somehow remotely in a better position? Why is it that you are so making, I mean, you've gone on a tirade going in on the educated lane. Why do you care about them so much? You don't date them after all, so why does it even matter what they have built or what the lack thereof if you don't even deal with them? Why does it matter to you? But notice how she will sit here and defend Pookie and Ray Ray to no end. She has made arguments saying that Pookies and Ray Rays are viewed as more masculine. That Pookies and Ray Rays are rebelling against the system. What the fuck are they rebelling against? I mean, please give me some examples. Because from all we see with Pookies and Ray Rays is that they are destroying their own community. So they're not rebelling against the system. They have no problem rebelling against other black people. And what I'm trying to figure out is how do you not classify them as dusty beta males? A Negro who runs around toting a pistol, shooting up his own damn neighborhood. How do you not classify that as a dusty beta male? How do you not defend that? How do you defend a Negro who's sitting up here selling drugs to his own fucking people? Not going there to who you classify as the evil albinoid devils that you was doing what the first year of being on YouTube. Funny how that talking point has stopped now. But somehow, this Negro is classified as being more masculine than the educated lane. And I want y'all to notice something. This is another reason why I say there's no regulator on this. Because what she is essentially doing is she is now making the argument saying, well, I know educated lames who engage in illegal activity as well. So they do the same exact thing. And the comparison she's trying to make, she's comparing apples to oranges. Pretty much trying to say that the educated lame is doing the same things as Pookies and Ray Rays. Now, it's not to say that some educated lames, and once again, I want to make this perfectly clear. These are not my terminologies. I'm pretty much going off of the arguments that have been made. I got a problem with the term education being associated with lame. But for the sake of making an argument, I will use this terminology. Essentially, what she is saying is making a comparison that the educated lames are just as caught up in illegal activity as the Pookies and Ray Rays. And no, that is a false comparison and a very weak one at that. It is weak. You cannot make that argument. Is it to say that some of them don't do this? Yes, some of them do. But to say by large, the educated lame is out here committing as many crimes as the Pookies and Ray Rays? I mean, are you serious? I mean, once again, this is what lets me know, okay, you have no regulator. You don't know when to simply back down. You don't know when to say, you know what, let me just leave this one alone. Let me just not, you know what, they're not my type, but you know what, maybe they're better off for somebody else. No, she continues to do what she's doing. Now she's sitting here defending Pookies and Ray Rays, mind you now, while being impregnated by a Pookie and Ray Ray. Make fucking sense out of this shit for me. Once again, another reason why I tell you brothers, stop arguing with these goddamn women. They're fucking insane. And for you to sit up here and argue with a woman who is defending or was classifying black men as dusty beta male coons, then to find herself getting knocked up by a dusty beta male coon, defending this dusty beta male coon, making excuses. And you know something? See, here's the deal. Females like this wonder why black men say the things that we say and why we say, or brothers like myself can come on the scene and say that, you know what? Black women are a major part of the problem. And it's not to say that black men don't take some of the blame on this, but black women by far are a major part of the problem. And why we take the positions that we take against them. Because at the end of the damn day, despite the fact that you knew this, when you listen to her talking points and how she even ended up in the situation in the first place, she's not in a relationship with the guy. But she was planning on having a child with a man who she is not even in a relationship with. And somehow, in the back of her fucking mind, she thinks this is a wise goddamn decision. She thinks she's above scrutiny behind this. And when being called out on this, when people are like, hold on a second, how do you explain this? She tells you, I'm not going to stop talking about black men. I don't owe you niggas shit. This is what she said. And once again, this is why I tell you black men, stop arguing with these women. There was no governor on her. Listen, you got a better chance controlling a machine that can rip you to shreds before trying to regulate that damn mouth. There is no filter on that mouth for her. There is no end. It just keeps on going like the fucking Energizer Bunny. I tell you Negroes once again, stop arguing with these women. They are flat out fucking insane. And this is what y'all have to quickly be able to identify before you even decide to engage in a debate with some of these women. This is another reason why when people leave certain comments on my comment thread, I don't even waste my time responding. Because when somebody comes at me, oh, you're just so angry. Why are you so angry? Why are you so angry? I'm not even going to waste my time with that because you're misconstruing my point. Whether you're doing it intentionally or unintentionally. In many cases, it's intentionally because this is how they want to paint you. As an angry black man. As a dysfunctional black man. This is why I try to tell you Negroes once again. Don't do it. And I want y'all to look at this here. And this is why I say Crystal and Karazin and Cynthia G are two sides of the same coin. This is why I say this. Because likewise with Crystal and Karazin, and the activity is the same, just on a different scale. Because Crystal and Karazin has not been able to produce her husband, has not produced any type of mental or emotional support of her husband. Yeah, they got some pictures taken together years ago. Or maybe every now and then, they'll have a family photo or something on their Facebook page. But she has not been able to produce her husband to sit down with her saying, hey, this is my wife, this is my woman, this is the woman that I love, and I support her agendas and her telling black women to level up and swirl and explore your options and character over color. You have never seen him do this. So she has no emotional support from her husband, no mental support from her husband, but she will defend him to no end. Likewise with a Cynthia G. There is a common denominator with Robert Perkins and Mr. Karazin. Both of these people are MIA. And it's not even that they're missing in action. Well, the husband, he's nowhere to be found until you try to affiliate him with this swirling bullshit. Then he's going to come out and threaten to sue your black ass. That's just how he gets down. But Robert Perkins, on the other hand, this Negro, I mean, you know something? We can say what we want to say. I mean, people don't have to like Nyla says. All right? I don't really care for her. I think she's hypocritical. I think there's many things that are questionable about her. But the one thing I will say is if she were to make the argument defending Pookie's and Ray Ray's, at least she actually has the backup or somebody backing her to be able to do this. Okay? Keyword, she has somebody backing her to be able to. Now, so many of y'all can classify Taz as a Pookie and Ray Ray. I mean, here you have a Negro who says he roasted a lawyer. I mean, whatever the fuck that means. Who, while having a debate with this same attorney, decided to sit in his car while rolling up a joint while having a debate with an attorney. I mean, it really makes no fucking sense. This is the same Negro, I'm going to assume that he's in his 40s or late 30s, with gold front in his mouth. Many would say that he fits the description of a Pookie and Ray Ray. And if that's what people say, hey, that's fair game. I'm not here to persuade nobody's opinion. But what I'm going to say is this. If Nyla says were to come out and defend Pookies and Ray Rays over the educated land, at least she has some type of leverage in that argument. Why? Because the minute New Possibilities wanted to debate Nyla says, who came to the aid? Taz. Nah, fuck that. I'm going to go debate him. I'm going to debate him. Now, we can say what we want to say about that behavior, but the minute he felt somebody was trying to challenge his woman, guess who stepped up to the plate? Don't have to agree with it, but at least we can say in optics, she has somebody defending her. Now, when you look at Cynthia G, and this is why I say this shit is so fucking comical to me. You look at her, I mean, she is a mirror image of Crystalline Carrison, of her behavior here on YouTube. Because, I mean, my question that I would have to ask, if I were to sit down and have a discussion with, first of all, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to ask you a simple set of questions, and then I'm going to be done with it. I'm going to be finished. And the questions will go like this. And this is a typical problem that we have that is prevalent amongst black women. Because you don't set forth any expectations out of a man before you let him impregnate you. In many cases, many of y'all are just trying to end up impregnated without his consent. I mean, I've had black women that I've dated in the past who have stated to me, what happens if I get pregnant? I say, listen, I'm not trying to have no kid right now. And they will get mad at me for me saying this to them. Oh, you're selfish. Why would you not want me to have your child? I'm the perfect candidate. This is what some of them believe. And I'm like, wait a second, hold on. We're not even in a relationship. How do you fix your lips to say this? What good can come out of this? But now Cynthia G would find herself in this very same predicament, despite the fact that she talks about the dusty beta male coon. Oh my God. She has produced t-shirts going in on the dusty beta male coon. Where does the dusty beta male coon come from? Fatherless homes. I mean, single parent homes is the first cause of a dusty beta male. Why does he become a dusty beta male out of this? Because he doesn't have any strength. Let me go ahead and say this. It's not to say that everybody that comes from a single parent home is a dusty beta male, but you have a greater rate of this happening when you have single parent homes. Because why? The very same foundation, the structure, is already broken. And this is the problem that we have in black society right now. Too many black children are being birthed into broken family households. This is what it is. It's kind of like if you try to erect a building and you don't produce a strong foundation, guess what? That building's going to lean, it's going to sag. Eventually, it might even tip over. That's what's going to happen. You're going to spend more money than what it's worth trying to restore that problem. If you put a solid foundation under that building, guess what? That building is going nowhere. That house is going nowhere. That structure is going nowhere. You have something with integrity. So when you have a woman who is well aware of this, this is not somebody who's fresh out of high school, don't know any better, found herself in this situation. No, you are well aware of this. And how do we know this? Because of the content that you have produced over the years. Lets us know where you stand. Lets us know that you are well aware of this. So the fact that you would even do something like this only furthermore lets me know that you are part of the problem. You are the very same problem that brothers like myself condemn. Are women who are well aware of this, who consciously decide to go out here and produce out of wedlock families. And let's take away the marriage for a second if you don't believe in that. Because marriage don't mean you don't have to be married in order to have a legitimate family. But to have a man in your life, to have a man that you live with, working with you as a damn teammate, that's not what's happening here. Robert Perkins wants nothing to do with this. And this is what becomes so scary. And this is why I say she is an astounding mirror image of Crystalline Carrison. That's why I say they're two sides of the same coin. Separate sides of the same coin. This is why I say this. Because likewise with Crystalline Carrison, she defends white men. Cynthia G defends Pookies and Ray Rays. And we're talking about the bottom feeders. Commentate with them amongst both of them. You do not find these men coming out their way to defend Crystal and Karazin. Likewise with Cynthia G. She's defending Pookie's and Ray Ray's. She has made videos defending Robert Perkins. But yet at the same time, and maybe I just haven't seen it, but the time when I was watching his videos, when this whole thing came out, he has made not a single fucking video defending Cynthia G for nothing. He's made videos defending himself. So my question to you, Cynthia G, is what are your expectations on him? Was he required to build for you? Was he required to create infrastructure? Because clearly he's not even required to come out and defend your black ass when you're getting your ass handed to you all over damn YouTube. What expectations did you set for this man? And by that standard alone, there is no argument that can be had with this woman that I'm going to sit here and engage. No debate I'm going to go back and forth with, because I know I'm dealing with somebody who's completely fucking insane. As I told y'all before, there is no regulator on her. There is no filter on that mouth. She does not categorize. She goes into a tangent, and this is another reason why she had a fallout with the great liberators. A man who was backing her up. Now all of a sudden the two of them are at odds with each other. Why is that? Because they know no regulation. This is also another reason why at one point she can have a problem with Black Woman's Fear for being a swirler, for being married to a white man at one point, for being pro-swirl, and literally at one point block her, remove her off of her panel to now all of a sudden be cool with her. I want y'all to understand this. These are people who have no integrity. So when you black men find yourselves debating with people like this, arguing back and forth, trying to reason and rationalize with people like this, do not waste your time. Because likewise, with Crystal and Karazin's husband, and how he wants nothing to do with this whole swirling bullshit. The same way how you don't even hear him in the background when she's producing these live streams is the same way Robert Perkins, which we know he's here on YouTube. Hell, she done moved to the same state that he lives in. So what were your expectations? What were your requirements? Because black women have a list of what they expect black men to do before you can even take them out on a date. But yet you let this Negro fuck you, raw dog you, nut up inside of you with little to no expectations. This is how you're sitting making YouTube videos, hiding your face, not wanting to be seen, most likely still carrying that child, and about to be giving birth or become a single mother yourself. What were your expectations of Pookie and Ray Ray? I mean, how do you sit here and defend Pookie and Ray Ray when yet Pookie and Ray Ray, because he's so masculine now, isn't he? But yet he won't even come forth to defend the woman that he's got knocked up. We're talking about a Negro who has 5 children from 4 different women, now about to have a 6th child from 5. And this is why I laugh at this shit, man. Because, I mean, only in the fucking Twilight Zone would you see some shit like this. And I don't even think those Hollywood screenwriters can even produce this bullshit. Because when you sit here, you're just going to scratch your fucking head and wonder, what the fuck? And this is how you nail her into a damn corner. You can't get out of this. I mean, if you're going to sit here and have such a vitriol toward the educated lame, I mean, first of all, the educated lame is not the one who has impregnated you. The educated lame is not the one who is raw dogging you, busting nuts inside of you. The educated lame, that's the thing I'm trying to figure out is why does it even matter to you to sit here and rail in on the educated lame the way you have? Mind you now, you are not giving your body to the educated lame. Where are your expectations of Pookie and Ray Ray? Where is your expectations of Robert Perkins? Is he required to protecting you? Is he required to defending you? Because clearly you're carrying his own child and he will not make a single fucking video to defend your black ass. You were just a hot rag to him. You were just a wipe down. Shit, wipe him down when you're done. I mean, god damn. Once again, I tell you black men, don't argue with these women. Because when you find yourself going back and forth with somebody like this, you know good and damn well you're dealing with somebody who has no regulation. They have no governor. There's no barometer that regulates them and says, you know what, maybe I just need to pump the brakes and have a seat somewhere and just really get my mind right. You're not dealing with that. You're not dealing with this at all. You're dealing with somebody who's completely irrational, completely delusional, illogical. No matter what you say, it isn't going to make sense. And when you Negroes find yourselves attempting to debate somebody like this, what you're going to find yourself is in a circle jerk, because they're going to, once you pin them on a wall towards something, what they're going to keep doing is they're going to ask you the same different question in a million different ways until they can confuse you or try to tie you into a knot. This is how this works. This is why I tell you, brothers, don't waste your time doing it. And even though deep down in the side of their back of their mind, they know that they haven't proven a point. They know that they haven't debunked any goddamn thing. But what they have done is they convince people now that she has won. Why? Because she got you frustrated. She got you running around in circles. She got you looking like a goddamn fool. Okay? Now, I've stated this before, and I've used this example in the past. I'm not one that likes Tariq Nasheed. I don't follow Tariq Nasheed. But I want y'all to notice something. Because a lot of y'all find yourselves wanting to debate a Cynthia G. Wanting to debate the women on her panel. And I say that's a waste of your fucking time. But just like when it came down to Tariq Nasheed, also with the Black Authority, she found herself calling into their programs. Now, she can make any excuse that she wants. Oh, you've been telling me to call in. No, I doubt that's the case. I really do. But she found herself calling into their programs. Okay? It wasn't the other way around. And when she called into Tariq Nasheed's program, Tariq told her several times, listen, you're arguing semantics. I'm not going to waste my time going back and forth with you. This is what he told her. And even though I don't fuck with this guy, I got to respect the way he handled that situation, because when he realized it was going nowhere, he dismissed, okay, you know what, thank you very much for being here. You have a good one. And he was done with her. That's it. There's nothing more to talk about, because you're insane. It is a waste of my time to sit here babbling back and forth with a woman who is completely fucking delusional. Not gonna do it. In the same way, if y'all gonna take anything from him, instead of worrying about dealing with his previous videos, the Mac lessons and whatnot, y'all need to take notes on that right there, how he handled that situation. That you do not need to find yourself in a space arguing with women like this. If you're going to have a debate with somebody, the first thing you need to have established about that person is that you can have a logical sound, that first of all, that this person is mentally stable enough in the head to hold a debate. Whether you're dealing with somebody who's logical and reasonable in the first place. And if you're not dealing with, if they have none of the above, don't even bother, because it'll become a complete waste of your time. And like I've had somebody tell me before, don't argue with somebody who's insane, because they will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. And this is what happens when it comes down to many of you brothers. When y'all find yourselves debating the likes of somebody like a Cynthia G, or one of these delusional, irrational females that you see sitting here online making these goofy ass fucking videos. There is absolutely no reason to do that shit. And like I told y'all before, you establish what you got to establish. And the same thing goes for the educated lame. You establish what you... Let me just, before I even close the video, I know this is getting a little long. I wanted to make another point. And this is what furthermore lets you know she's insane. Pookies and Ray Rays, for the most part, do not like educated lames. I'm going to concur that most of them just don't fuck with educated lames. That's just the way it is. They're on two different spectrums, two different sides of the stick. This is the way they work. So when you have a Cynthia G state, well, how come the educated lames aren't building programs for Pookies and Ray Rays so they can get out of this situation? That shit becomes laughable to me. I mean, that is equivalent to a woman who has slept with the Pookies and Ray Rays have multiple babies by Pookies and Ray Rays, passed up on the educated lames in her prime years. Now all of a sudden wants the educated lame to come in and play the father figure and be Captain Save-A-Ho. Man, fuck that shit. That ain't happening. You must be out your goddamn mind. To even place or insinuate such an expectation furthermore lets me know that, woman, you have no filter. You have no regulation. And even when you try to humble yourself to a degree and apologize, I've been going a little hard, you still fail at that epically. Epically. Like I told y'all before, she does not compartmentalize. She does not categorize. What she does is she lumps up black men in one sum. This is what she does. This is why she's not saying some educated lames are out here selling drugs. She says, no, they're out here getting involved in illegal activity just like Pookies and Ray Rays. Now, mind you, once again, who she is knocked up by, it is not the educated lame. Who's the one who she was fucking? It was not the educated lame. Who was raw dogging her, nutting inside her? It was not the educated lame. As far as we're concerned, the educated lame has absolutely no obligation to you, none whatsoever. And to sit here and try to make a comparison and say, well, he's out here doing the same things as Pookies and Ray Ray, well, that'd be a different story. And you'd be able to have that argument had you not been laying up with Pookie and Ray Ray in the first place. Just like when you talk about the Dusty Beta Malcoon. You'd be able to have that argument had dust had not make its way inside of you, raw dogging you and nutting in you and impregnating you. You would have more of a legitimate argument. But despite the fact that she has found herself in this recent set of circumstances and still has not backed down, but only doubled down. Now, mind you, this is the same woman who says she has a degree in psychology, who should be seeing a psychologist herself, who needs her medication herself. Because in life, you can find yourself in certain situations. You can find yourself going in hard on the pain on certain groups of people. And then something takes place in your life that humbles you, that knocks you down. And the way most people are going to handle that, they're going to say, you know what, let me sit down for a minute. Let me get off the YouTube for a second. Let me just sit down and get my mind right. Let me reevaluate some things. Or if I'm going to stay on YouTube, you know what, let me just pump my brakes. Let me pump my brakes. Kind of like when I'm making YouTube videos and I say, you know what, let me drop the throttle notches down from notch 8 and bring it down to notch 4. I'm going a little too heavy right now. Let me bring down some power, bring it back down to idle and just coast. Cynthia G doesn't have this. No, she'll sit in the cab of a locomotive and pull that throttle right to notch 8, rip the throttle control right out of the control stand. Now the engine is in overdrive. So now you got a whole other set of problems. But the only difference is, under normal circumstances, there's a governor to shut that damn thing down. With Cynthia G, there is no governor. So guess what? She's just going to keep on going, which is why I say she's just like the Energizer Bunny. She doesn't know when to stop. And this is another reason why I warn you, brothers, when you come across females like her, the Black Woman Sphere, Crystalline Karazin, and a host of many others, for y'all to find yourselves on these panels, arguing back and forth with these women, not only are you playing their game, but they are beating you with experience, and then they can turn around and use that very same dysfunction against you. Alpha males don't have to go to panels of women to get them to engage in a debate. They're going to go to you. That's how that works. And this is another reason why I've told you brothers in the past, if you build it, women will follow. All these other lame arguments about why are you sleeping with the Pookies and Ray Rays and stop dealing with them and deal with guys like that, cut that shit out. It is a waste of fucking time. A complete waste of time. And if you don't know anything about women, what they understand and respect is power. And when they see that you have it, you don't have to have any game to get them. You don't have to have smooth words to get them to come up out their panties and get them to spread their leg. You don't got to go through none of that bullshit once you have established power. And that would be my advice to the educated brothers. I'm not going to refer to y'all as lame. Education comes in very different for shit. Someone refer to me as an educated lame. I'm a blue collar trades brother. But I'm going to say for brothers who have done the right things in life, followed the right protocols, did what they were supposed to do, stay out of trouble, manage their money wise, build up good credit. You want to know about how to establish getting respect from women? Find a way to make yourself a force to be reckoned with. whether it be linking up with a collective group of brothers like yourself and doing something outstanding, or whether you just, well, I would say that's probably the best bet. But point being made is, once again, for many of you brothers who find yourselves arguing with these women, don't waste your time doing it. Don't waste your time going back and forth, because they will turn around and use that dysfunction against you. You have absolutely nothing to gain or nothing to prove, especially to a group of women who lay up with thugs or lay up with Pookies and Ray Rays, or one who's impregnated by a man who won't even come forth not one time to make a single video defending her. I want y'all to understand that. So when these women are wondering why black men don't want to deal with us, or there's a certain, the educated brothers don't want to deal with, I'm going to say women like her. Because black women who keep their shit together have no problem getting any man. But those are the reasons why. Because you literally place no legitimate expectations on these men. These men have shown you no signs of commitment, no signs that they are willing to help you raise a child. Many of y'all are popping up pregnant and don't even have a single game plan on how you're going to raise that child. And if you probably ask Cynthia G, if she's still even pregnant to begin with, how do you plan on raising that child? She probably doesn't have the slightest fucking clue. And mind you now, some of you brothers are online arguing with married women with families. And now she has the nerve to turn around and talk about, look at him, he's sitting there arguing with women. But she's the same one on that panel, in certain cases, arguing with single men who have no children. When there's far more better things she can be doing, black woman sphere, like taking care of your family, raising your kids, rather than arguing with people that you don't even fucking know. But all that gets pushed out the window, and all that because, once again, women have always been portrayed as victims and men have always been looked at as the perpetrators, as the suspects. So despite the fact that a logical thinking brother like myself will look at it from this perspective and say, okay, the same way you're saying, why are these brothers here? I would say that about them too. Why are they there? Why are they? Would be the same way I would ask you even more, considering the fact that you have children, considering the fact that you have a family. Why would a married woman find herself arguing with people who she doesn't even know? Makes absolutely no sense. But I've dragged this video out long enough, and with that being said, that's all I got to say in this video. And I'll catch you on the next one.